Hello everybody and welcome to another MASH session, and I'm delighted today to be joined, although digitally, by Ciara Feely, who is the President-elect of MPI UK and Ireland and author and founder of Conference Converter, I think among other titles. Hello Ciara.
How are you, Martin?
Oh, we're all good. Ciara, I thought maybe we could just begin with you giving us a little bit of an insight as to your experience in the industry and what it is you're currently up to.
Right. Well, I think my first job in the industry was making beds in Germany, and fast forward then to my first real job in America, where I worked in the hotel industry, and I worked in sales, and I opened a property 3 months after 9/11. So I understand what it's like to work in a tough environment and to really have to start from scratch, which is unfortunately what is ahead of a lot of the industry right now. And when I moved back from America to Ireland, I founded an event agency, findaconferencevenue.com, and specialized in finding the right venue for the particular event. And then through that, I got to experience how a lot of hotels sell to me as a potential buyer, and I could see different mistakes that were being made. And like yourself, Marty, I love this industry. It's full of just the most amazing people. And I really wanted to do something about this loss of sale. So I started to write a book. And this came out. It took 3 years because I'm a mother of twins and my boys were 2 at the time. And but what that gave me was a process and clarity. And I could see why business was being lost, and I put how to win more business into that book. And from there, my new business, Steps to Win, it is a sales program, was founded. So Conference Converter is the parent company, and I teach people all over the world how to win, in particular, my business. And I focus in on how the client thinks and buys.
So obviously sales is something that's at the front of every business owner's mind right now. I mean, how has the selling process changed over the last 2 months? I mean, has this COVID-19 crisis brought forward a change that was perhaps inevitable?
Yes, I don't think that the sales process has changed yet. I think there still are people trying to do the old way, and that's just not going to work right now. But what this will bring around is going back to basics and doing the basics brilliantly. Now, just last week, I got a call from somebody who was trying to engage me, trying to get me to see if I was a fit. And I have to be honest with you, I felt that she hadn't prepared for the conversation. She was looking at me as my old business, which was as the agency, and so she hadn't seen that for 7 years I haven't run that business, you know. So after an initial chit chat and how is everybody and all of that, she asked if there was something that we could do together, and then there was silence because I couldn't see how there was a fit there. You know, I wouldn't be somebody who would purchase their product. And then I thought, oh, she must be thinking of me in my old role 7 years ago. So what I feel has to change is number one, we can't get away with sloppy sales anymore. There has to be a lot of research. And number two, I think for directors, like I've really felt that she was just going through a database and just try and call as many people as possible and see if they could buy the product, right? And that's not going to work. Conversations create cash, and it's great that people are calling, but the conversation needs to change because the client's life has changed. And I think people need to really change their approach in terms of how can I help you? You know, and trying to figure out what the client's new future is rather than you know. So before this, proactive salespeople had targets, quite high targets in terms of people you had to call and maybe, you know, monetary value of 250,000 a month or whatever it is in closed business, that's not going to happen for a while. And so directors need to, I feel, change the way they look at the sales process. And a success now is to have a good conversation and a meaningful conversation with a potential client, rather than, that hard sale. That's not going to work for a while.
Well, that kind of brings me on to the next question, really. We're all sort of in a holding pattern, and not just the events industry, but the hospitality industry as well, which by extension is completely related. So given the circumstances, when do you think is it appropriate to start selling, and what would be the right approach?
It is appropriate to call clients right now, and I feel it's really vital that that conversations are had right now. But it's not that time for the hard sell. So when I say call a client, it is to be curious and to be helpful. And I think a good way to start a conversation is questions, after the initial chit chat, after warming people up, after really connecting genuinely. That whole authenticity has to come through. And you have to be genuine, in terms of the whole approach, and the authenticity of the approach has to be there. But I think people really need to ask the question, when we meet again, what do you think that's going to look like? And to be able to have that conversation, and internally in their company to have some thoughts around that too. There's a whole approach that normally I teach over a space of 2 hours. But getting those initial steps right, I think, is very important. And that might be a struggle for a few people, Marty, because there hasn't been enough conversations in our industry in the last 8, 9, 10 years. Because when business is good, people have generally resorted to technology and just responded by email. And they've had email conversations, but picking up the phone or having these virtual conversations is what is needed right now, that just genuine a connection with a client that you completely miss. You can't tap into emotions by just emailing people and by quoting. And so I feel not enough people in the industry have that skill set to really have conversations, to have a genuine connection, to be able to make that early on in the conversation, and then to be able to move that into a business conversation, or move it towards strategy, at least around the business. So to all the directors out there of agencies as well, not just hotels and CVBs, that I feel that's an essential skill to help people to master right now.
That's a really interesting point, actually, isn't it? I mean, we've all been forced to communicate more or less solely digitally. And I think you're right, we've forgotten how to just pick up the phone. I seem to be jumping on Zoom calls all the time. And I think, well, I've got my phone right here. Why don't I just call someone and see how they're doing? It's quite a remarkable shift change. But I'm curious, from your experience right now, who is booking now? Is there any active inquiry going on out there?
Yeah, definitely there is. And that's why it breaks my heart that so many people have been furloughed. And, I'm giving everybody a virtual hug out there who's been temporarily laid off, because this is an essential time to have your team in place to be making those connections. So the business for next year, association business, all of that is always been booked in advance. That's very much happening. And the people who have the venues and the agencies who have people in place to answer the phone, they're getting the business, because the conference organizers is just delighted to be able to get somebody on the phone, So those conversations are definitely happening. There's the immediate emergency business, I suppose, that's happening, all the medical stuff that's happening. But there's retail business that's happening. There's transportation business. In the States, it's oil and gas. So pharmaceutical businesses, they're definitely looking forward to what things are going to look like next year. So there are opportunities there. But I think what happens in our industry is we get kind of a little bit, we're very impatient. And if we make a phone call or try to connect with somebody and you don't get a response straight away, or you might get X amount of voicemails, say, there's nobody there, you know? And I'm seeing that definitely happen, and people are giving up too early. But prospecting, it's a bit of a graft, you know? And if you make 50 phone calls, you might get 10 conversations, and that's a success. You know, you're not going to get 40 conversations. Prospecting has always been about research. And I think people forgot that prospecting and cold calling is about finding business opportunities straight away. That rarely happens. And people are very eager and very anxious to just try and make that sale too quickly. And that will set yourself up for disappointment. Clients need trust, and the emotions of trust that need to be built right now, they need to be built at very high levels. So trust and confidence has to be there. It can take up to 13 touch points with a potential client before they're ready to purchase, whereas most people give up after one or two goes. So there's always business opportunities been lost there. So people have to slow down a little bit and just focus on being genuine, authentic, and building that relationship.
I'm gonna skip forward a question to this matter of pricing, and I think it's really interesting that you've highlighted some sectors that are kind of, you know, looking at making inquiries, and there's certainly a pulse out there. But I'm going to ask you about discounting. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or is it a side of maybe jumping the gun too soon just to try and get some business interested and on board?
I don't think that a lower price is going to encourage people to book right now. No. Traditionally, if you look at the last number of recessions, or you know, when our industry faced a really tough time, people did lower rates, and it didn't do any good, because whoever is going to travel right now is traveling because they have to or they really want to, not because I got a really good deal. And when it comes to pricing, if you do lower it to a very low level, it takes years to get it back up to what is profitable. And what this industry needs right now is profitability. When we're coming out of, you know, having been closed for X amount of time, we have to be booking business that makes sense for your particular property, for your particular agency. And we can't go into that cycle of just running, been really busy, booking whatever comes along, and thinking that's a success. Businesses need profitable businesses in order to build a healthy industry again, and that's going to be key. I understand that the buyer, you know, they're trained negotiators. They obviously are going to be looking for good deals. And I think what the value that we build into things is important. So instead of lowering prices, for example, what would be of value to a lot of conference organizers will be flexibility. Will be having more space for not been charged more for that, and really being able to work with them on creating that safe environment. There will be more costs because it's going to cost a lot more to create safe environments. So lowering discounts and just going by that policy isn't going to work, and is not going to help our industry get back to the level that we need to be at.
Great. Now, you've given us kind of a hint at what your course is and your teachings will kind of cover. Can you tell our viewers where they can learn more about what you offer?
Absolutely. Well, just today, actually, I'm launching one on how to sell during a crisis. And I go into, it's a 90-minute on demand, so you can purchase it and take it in your own time. But I go into detail on what is the right approach, what is a conversation technique, and where to look for business and how to look for business. Because there's a lot of teams out there right now who perhaps have been on the conversion side. This terrible term, Marty, reactive sales. Everybody has to be proactive. So if you're furloughed right now and you were on the conversion team, you need to upskill yourself to be able to find business, because everybody, everybody's responsibility will be to do that. So how to sell during a crisis and how to find opportunities, I walk you through 5 steps there. And then other courses where I think directors and business owners really need to be looking at right now is how to get the right sales tools in place. It's a fantastic opportunity right now to make sure that you have the right sales tools to attract the right kind of business. And when you are putting sales and leads into the sales funnel, conversion is going to be key. So how to write a proposal, a winning proposal, is another course that I have. But you can go to conferenceconverter.com/results, and there's a list of the opportunities there for people to upskill, because it's a great time to do that, right?
Isn't it just? Well, I don't know about anyone else. Well, I haven't got any spare time, but that's my problem. Ciara, thank you so much for joining us, folks. We will put the web link to Ciara's website in the comments section of this video. Ciara Feely, thank you very much.